As intercity bus travel gains momentum, several players are now trying to marry technology with mobility to make travel more sustainable and reliable. To understand more about the segment and its future, we have with us today Prashant Kumar, co-founder and CEO of zingbus. Prashant, good to have you with us today.
Thanks, Fran. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, first question would be, what does zingbus provide, and how are you different from other industry bus travel options in India?
The best way to travel intercity, I say, is via zingbus. Why I say so is that we are a managed marketplace for intercity bus travel. If you were to, as a consumer, you can come on zingbus platform and book a zingbus. How we are essentially different from other such marketplaces is that you go on a platform like Make My Trip or Paytm, but you end up booking a Prashant Travels ticket or a Pran Travels ticket. So that is where the relationship between the platform and the user kind of terminates. As in, you are done with your reservation, and that is it, right? The next leg of your experience is completely owned by that service provider, which is that Pran Travels or Prashant Travels. More often than not, these service providers are very small and medium-sized bus companies, owning somewhere between to just a couple of buses to somewhere between about 40 to 50 buses in the country, and more often than not have zero technology infrastructure to infuse any sort of consistency towards your traveling experience. So more often than not, your experience is not what a millennial consumer of India now expects, right? Like you order your food from Zomato, when you are traveling intracity, you book a Uber, right? When you want to stay, you stay in a Oyo or a Tribo or something of that sort. But when it comes to intercity bus travel, you are still relying on an experience which is not designed for a millennial user experience. And that is where zingbus comes into picture. If you book a ticket using zingbus, there are certain guarantees that you get. If the trip gets delayed, zingbus refunds you the amount, right? We ensure that we take 100% guarantee of your trip. Right? So if it at all happens that your trip gets cancelled because of n number of reasons, we in fact give you a flight ticket to make sure that your journey plans do not get hampered because of any operational efficiency at our end or at our operator partner's end. We are still an asset light platform, as in we do not own any of these buses, but we have a very high level of control over the operations of these buses. And that's how we are able to deliver an NPS of about 70%, which is unheard of in this industry, which is equivalent to what these LCC, low cost carriers are able to provide, like Indigo or Vistara, right? They are typically in the range of 60 to 80% NPS. If you talk about buses, a typical bus in India operates at a negative NPS.
Right. So, how do you ensure that buses are on time? You mentioned about the NPS part of it. Given the diverse traffic conditions that one encounters in India, how do you provide reliable service?
When we talk about reliability in sense of punctuality per se, there are we basically bifurcate in two parts, right? There are delays which can be avoided, and then there are delays which cannot be avoided due to the reasons that you just mentioned, whether it's traffic or it be any other unforeseen and uncontrollable circumstance, right? In case, and then there is an area wherein there are willful defaults or something that results because there are not enough controls in place at the operator's end. So that is something that we solve through our technology stack related to reporting of the bus driver. We have a consistent mechanism to make sure that all of the drivers report for their duty at the right point of time, right? If there is there is a crew app. If the driver does not report on time or is basically not basically giving his consent that he'll be able to report on time, there is an auto assignment to different bus driver that happens. Similarly, we have created an entire full stack backend for the maintenance of these buses. For example, we have a 4x more probability of catching a particular issue that might happen with bus while doing its ride. So we have developed that particular stack, which ensures that last minute delays because of maintenance issues or something that has come up with the bus is avoided. right? So that's one thing that we have done. And by the virtue of doing that, we have been able to decrease the standard delays by a factor of almost 65%. There is still 35% delays that happen because of factors which are not in our control or anybody's control in that in a manner of speaking, right? In that sense, what we do is that while we are not able to run the trip on time, we are in 100% of the cases able to inform the customer in a little bit advance. So all of these intercity travelers, all of us in fact, have graduated from becoming a railway traveler. So what this target group does not mind getting a delay of about 15, 20 or half an hour. What they do mind is that if the company knew about it beforehand, why was I not privy of that information, so that I could have planned my coming to the boarding station accordingly and would have completely avoided waiting at a curbside location at like 10:30 p.m. in the night. And that is what makes the experience more delightful in case of traveling with zingbus. So 100% of the trips are trackable, and we use machine learning in order to basically generate automated alerts, keeping you on track with the bus's schedule.
Right. So that bit is for the travelers and the consumers. What is it for the operators? What are your value propositions for them?
So since we have created this managed marketplace, we have been able to increase their net occupancy or utilization of that asset by almost a factor of by almost 20%, right? Which has increased their net earnings. Net earnings is basically the revenue after all the costs has been taken care of, right? So we have been able to multiply their net earnings by a factor of 3 or even to up to a factor of 7 in some cases, right? Just by doing a better yield management for them. When I talk about yield management, it has two variables attached to it. One is, of course, the utilization and the occupancy inside the bus, which we increase due to our algorithms, and also we price their inventory in a dynamic and unique fashion, right? So that the similar to what you see in flights, the price of the bus tickets keeps on changing as per demand is flowing in, right? As per the number of searches for that particular connection is increasing on our platform and all other platforms. For example, if on a connection like Delhi Gorakhpur, all of the railways are already sold out, the price for these bus tickets will automatically shoot up, right? So being a little bit opportunistic in that manner, but the customer does not mind that. As far as we are able to give them a better experience by doing all these things, we have been able to increase the net earnings of an average bus operator by a factor of 3.
Right. So, as an emerging brand, what are the kind of challenges that you face, especially when it comes to expanding?
Yeah, this is a multifold. I would say there are the challenges is multifold, and that is why it has been rather difficult to build in this sector, right? It's not like buses kuch naya cheez to hai nahi, na? It has been there for like 60, 70 years now in India also. But still there has not been a pan-India consistent brand that is present because the operational challenges are huge. कभी बस खराब हो जाएगी, कभी डिले होगी. It's very difficult to ensure that experience to the end customer is consistent in its manner. And there is a lot of engineering and algorithms that go into development in order to solve these small little points. I'll just give you an example. Suppose your boarding was to happen from point A एंड आज बारिश हो गई एंड पॉइंट ए पे वाटर लॉगिंग हो गया. गुड़गांव के पिक्चर्स देखे होंगे आपने जो भी वाटर लॉगिंग हुई थी. तो सो सपोज देयर इज एंटायर वाटर लॉगिंग इन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया. In real time, the boarding point gets shifted from point A to point B, and all of the users are communicated that via our app notifications on WhatsApp through IVRs, so that it does not happen that you come on point A, अपना लगेज भिंगा के खुद को भिंगा के, and then eventually you are told कि आपको point A नहीं point B पे आना है. So we avoid such kind of instances, and there goes a lot of engineering and real-time communication that goes into that.
Right. So, when it comes to something like electric intercity travel options, what is the overall tourism experience around this, including factors such as cost, convenience, environmental?
I think the shift to electric is upon us. right? It makes both environmental as well as financial sense now. I say, in fact, India is among the very few nations where running an electric bus is actually cheaper than running a diesel bus, right? Because of the surge in prices that happened last year. Before that, running an electric bus was not cheaper than running a diesel bus, so that it did not make financial sense. But it has started making financial sense now. So we are seeing that transition happening slowly because there are multiple challenges, ecosystem level challenges that come into picture, ranging from inavailability of infrastructure for charging, range anxiety that comes with these kind of electric assets, right? Lack of financing solutions since the buses are more costlier compared to a typical diesel bus. We are figuring out all of these challenges, working with multiple government as well as private bodies to create an ecosystem that allows a typical bus operator to purchase an electric bus and operate it in the manner he or she purchases and operates a diesel bus as of now. Uh, I am very bullish, and the company is very bullish that in the next 5 to 6 years, we are going to see that at least 25% of the intercity buses running on Indian highways are going to turn electric.
Right. So, a carry-on question from that. Is there an increasing need and demand for sustainable travel? And can buses in India actually provide that? Where are we placed when it comes to, sustainable forms of mass transit?
Hmm. Of course, in fact, I'll go to the go to the extent of saying that India can and will travel only using buses, right? We are a developing nation. The income parity over there uh, uh, is not same as you get in certain developed economies, right? Where flights has become kind of a go-to option for even a middle class US citizen or middle class European citizen. It's not going to happen for India, right? It will still take a very long while till an average Indian can afford flights. A flight is usually costs about 7 to 8 rupees per kilometer. Indians are more comfortable in the affordability range of somewhere between 1.5 to 3.5 rupees per kilometer, which is almost like one third of the prices of flights. Also, since India is a heavily populated nation, if you want to basically talk about the Hindi belt also, right, like the states of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and not Hindi belt, but Punjab, all of these, if combined, their population is greater than that of the United States. A larger population means more people are moving between cities. This belt that I'm talking about houses more than 25 cities which have a population of more than a million, right? And there is definitely a locomotion required between these cities. And the usual distance between these cities is about 400 odd kilometers, 300 to 400 odd kilometers. Flights do not make sense over here from a cost perspective, from an environment perspective, and even from an infrastructure perspective. अरे ठीक है, अच्छी बात है कि सब जगह एयरपोर्ट्स आ रहे हैं, बट उनको फंक्शनल करने के लिए, उस तरह की कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस डिलीवर करने के लिए, to make an airport which can basically house and power almost 100 flights on a daily basis, it takes a ton of expense on the governments or the private partners end. So it's still going to take a while. So traditionally, Indians has always looked at Indian railways for servicing this kind of a requirement. But in the last 20 years, it had so happened that while the demand for intercity travel has grown at about 11-12% CAGR consistently, railways have been able to add capacity at a mere 1.5 to 2%, right? So naturally, this delta of 10% has overflowed into buses because यही दो form factors हैं जो 2 रुपए per kilometer पे operate करते हैं, right? These are the only two form factors that operate at 2 rupees per kilometer. So naturally, people started choosing buses more, and this shift is going to become more apparent in the coming years. So not only that the case is that not only the buses will be able to service this demand, buses are the only form factor which can service this demand, right? And with the coming up of so many great quality highways and the brilliant work that NHAI has done in the past 5-6 years, right? We have seen that the travel time and the travel time has decreased in case of buses, and the travel comfort has increased in case of buses. For example, if you were to incidentally take a zingbus between Delhi to Lucknow, right? Your journey time would be lesser than 90% of the trains. So barring a few Rajdhanis and Vande Bharats and Shatabdis, इसके अलावा सारी ट्रेन से फास्टर हमारी सर्विस होती है because of the brilliant highway infrastructure that has come up, and this is happening all across the country. Like I come from Patna. Patna के अंदर you might find roads broken when you are inside the city, but the point that you go out of the city and on a highway, like on a Patna Muzaffarpur or a Patna Betia kind of an highway, right? The highways are flawless. So this is a phenomena which is happening across the country and is definitely powering up the intercity bus travel sector.
Right. Last question to you would be, how do you see tech-enabled companies like yours operating in this space, and how do you see this year panning out in terms of business?
So there are a few things that technology is definitely gonna solve. Definitely gonna solve. Therefore, since it's a heavily unorganized segment, like I explained in the beginning of the call, that an average bus operator has less than 10 buses in the country, right? Uske paas, there are no tools in order to, and also you need to understand the supply of the service is getting created daily. It's not something that you have created once. It's not like a Haldiram Bhujia, for example, right? You have created the recipe once, you have put down the manufacturing plants. तो अब उसमें से हर एक पैकेट जो निकलेगा उसमें कंसिस्टेंट क्वालिटी होगी. ऐसा हो नहीं सकता इस सेक्टर में, since it's a service sector. Every service needs to be created daily. The trip that you are running today might still run on a delay. अगर आपकी पिछली 10 ट्रिप टाइम पे चल रही थी तो भी आज की ट्रिप तो डिले हो सकती है because of the goof-ups that you do today. That's the trade-off that you get in our service sector anyway, right? So and also it being such an unorganized sector, the role of technology towards infusing consistency. Technology कहीं पर क्या करता है, कहीं भी क्या करता है? What it does is that it removes the information asymmetry between all the stakeholders, whether it be the bus crew or the bus operator or the traveler or the selling online or offline agent जो टिकटें बेच रहा है, इन सब लोगों के बीच में information asymmetry होती है more often than not, जिसको a platform like zingbus is using technology to solve for, so that when a crew knows that a bus is going to be delayed, he can enable a mass alert that goes to the people who are going to board from the next station, right? So that they know कि bus delay होने वाली है. And if the garage knows that this bus has so much of things that are broken down and needs to be taken care of immediately, automatically the bus owner knows about it, right? And he can perform an action which enables the garage to start working on that immediately. तो इन सब चीजों के बीच में जो टाइम लैग है ना, वो सब चीजों को रिमूव कर देते हैं. वन ऑफ द थिंग्स इज दैट. सो इंश्योरिंग कंसिस्टेंसी में टेक का ह्यूज रोल है. सेकेंडली, व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट even creation of the routes and the connections, it's a humongous activity, right? कि आपको हर एक connection create. I'll just give you an example how it is different from running flights. For example, if a flight takes off from Delhi, it will onboard all of its customers from Delhi and deboard all of its customers on Mumbai. बीच में pick और drop करते तो जा नहीं सकता ना. But when you talk about a bus in that sense, if the bus is theoretically speaking between Delhi to Mumbai, there would typically be 22 stop points in between, right? So the number of connections that gets created is 22C2, which in a numerical value is close to 300. Now, all of these 300 connections need to be serviced. सर्विस से मेरा मतलब केवल ये नहीं होता कि बस वहां से पास कर रही है तो कस्टमर को बोर्ड कर लिया. इन सभी कस्टमर्स को बस का करेक्ट ईटीए बता पाना, इन सभी कस्टमर्स को रियल टाइम अलर्ट्स भेज पाना, इन सभी कनेक्शंस को करेक्टली प्राइस कर पाना. दिस इज व्हाट इट मींस इन व्हेन आई से द क्रिएशन ऑफ सप्लाई फॉर दैट particular connection, right? So if a connection in between is a 100-kilometer connection, you cannot price it for a 1100-kilometer connection, and you need to be able to change this dynamically. For example, if the bus is running from A to F and you have sold a particular seat between D to F, by design you cannot sell, by virtue of design you cannot sell A to F, B to F, C to F anymore, right? So all of these probabilities and all of this data needs to get integrated into the system in order to deliver a best pricing for the user without compromising on the yield of the bus operator. That is where tech plays another important role. Also, one of our zingbus's vision, and what I believe will become a reality in the next 3-4 years, is point-to-point one-stop solution. For example, if you were to travel from your place in Delhi to supposedly your in-laws place in Chandigarh, right? The company would furnish you a single ticket which would allow you कि आपका फर्स्ट माइल हो, आप अपने घर से उठ के एक बस पे बैठोगे, दैट बस विल टेक यू फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू चंडीगढ़, एंड देन चंडीगढ़ से देयर वुड बी अ लास्ट माइल wherein you will get picked from that particular bus from a smaller asset and then delivered to your in-laws place. Something similar you have seen happening in goods transport. Like जब आप एक अमेजोन से एक आइटम ऑर्डर करते हो तो वो भिवंडी में किसी वेयर हाउस से पिक होता है, उसके बाद फिर वो मुंबई से लेकर के दिल्ली तक आता है किसी लाइन हॉल के थ्रू, एंड देन इट गेट्स डिलीवर्ड टू यू, राइट? So there are multifarious asset forms and multifarious legs that are involved in that transaction getting completed. The same is gonna happen with passenger transport also, and we are on the edge of that revolution.
Right. And how do you see business panning out this year?
Last year we did close to about 200 crore, a little more than 200 crore rupees in GMV. This year we are targeting for about 450 crore rupees in GMV. We already connect more than 200 cities in a daily fashion. In terms of coverage, this is next only to Indian Railways. Like Indigo flies only to 71 destinations on a daily fashion. We connect more than 200 cities in a daily fashion. So our goal is that by the end of this year, we are going to be basically connecting more than 330 cities across 19 states of the country. Right now, we are present in 15 states. So we are going to launch 4 states more, and we are going to start running our daily services between 110 more cities. Right. So that's the goal that we have set for. Yeah.
Great. So one of the largest bus markets in the world. Clearly, intercity travel provides plenty of options. Thank you so much for talking to us today. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks, Pran. Thank you. Thank you for having me.